Hello YouTube and welcome to the nation of free to play. I'm Mr. Mondstadt and today I want to talk about the status quo of AOE in Genshin Impact, why it is as cooked as it is and what would need to happen to make it good again. Let's go! Area of effect, in short, AOE characters in Genshin Impact have not had a good time in quite a while by now. This observation should not come as a surprise. However, this was not always the case. In the earlier versions of the game, Venti, Ganyu or Xiao were some of the strongest 5-stars you could pull for. And especially Venti is a great example to show the downfall of AOE characters. While his kit has not changed over the years, his spot in the meta tier lists went down over and over again. But why is that? While he still provides the same benefits to your party as he always did, for example the 40% resistance shred from the Viridescent Venerer set, his unique selling point has always been his grouping abilities against smaller enemies. With his burst he creates a black hole that sucks everything towards it. Well, maybe not everything though. His burst only groups small opponents like hilichurls, slimes, treasure hoarders, stuff like that. A Rune Guard, however, is already too big to be affected by the Anemo Archon. The same is true for every kind of grouper though. Kazu has the same problem, and also newer units like Lanyan and Auron can group a little bit with their bursts, but nothing that is taller than Xiao. And this brings us to the main reason why AOE is more or less dead in Genshin right now. There are no small opponents in the game anymore, and if there are, they are single bosses. Of course there are in the overworld, and in that case these units are still viable, but in any form of endgame scenario there is simply no AOE. That's why Venti and the others fell off that hard. Their kits didn't change, but the game did. Spiral Abyss used to be filled with a bunch of smaller enemies, or generally a bunch of enemies. They don't even have to be small. However, the last time we actually had AOE in Floor 12 was during Mizuki's release. And if you were thinking that she was the comeback of AOE though, you were mistaken. It was one exception to sell her banner at least a little bit before she got added to the standard roster. Since then, Abyss is either a single boss with loads and loads of HP, or a bunch of annoying smaller enemies that spawn in waves. Either scenario is not AOE, but mostly single target. It is funny if you look up the last Abysses and the opponents on floor 12. Papillas, PMA, Icewind Suite, Secret Source, Automatons, Mountain King, Seahorse. Yeah, cool. I mean, I get that the opponents are chosen in a way to sell the new limited character on banner, but why don't you give us a real AOE DPS for once? Neuvillette was the last broken AOE focused unit, and he is still relevant because he's also good in single target scenarios. But after that, Mavuika is good in AOE, yes, but she's generally just good. Mizuki is, no offense, a joke, and the same is true for Aoife. Mualani, Kinich, Chaska, Varessa, they are all designed to work best in single target scenarios, and even Skirk's normal attack playstyle is not blessed with a wide hitbox. But enough ranting about the Abyss floors for now. Actually, I was not really bothered too much by the fact that floor 12 is just a couple of HP inflated bosses. I'm used to it by now. What triggered me though is the release of Stygian Onslaught. And don't get me wrong, the endgame mode per se is fine, and I'm also cool with the fact that we fight overworld bosses. But if we are fighting single target enemies in the new endgame mode, what could we then fight in the old endgame mode? If you're now thinking AOE, oh boy, you're so wrong. No, the answer is single target enemies as well, of course, idiot. Sorry, I don't mean it like that, but I'm just annoyed by the fact that every form of endgame feels more or less the same by now. And if you're now saying, well, there are some AOE acts in Imaginary Theater, shut it. What do we fight in Act 3, 6, 8 and 10? That's right. Some modes are easier, some modes are harder, sometimes you play random teams, sometimes you start without energy. but the enemies are always the same. I mean, we literally have the Overseer device in all 3 game modes right now. I get it, Skirk is cool, but maybe a bit more creativity, please? Now that we have Stygian Onslaught, why don't you bring back AOE to Spiral Abyss? It would even make sense financially, as you can't just put the same teams for every combat scenario. So Hoyo would also sell more characters, no? Anyway, this is why AOE is dead. It is pretty easy to summarize what would need to change to bring it back. The Abyss floors, that's all. How realistic is that? Well, it 100% depends on the DPS units of Nordcry. If they are AOE, cool. If not, it will stay a boss battle game. Obviously, we don't know anything about the upcoming characters, but Innefer is allegedly an upgrade to Electrocharge teams, and Taser is best against multiple enemies, so maybe we will be getting some AOE in 5.8. Let's see. I really hope that the release of Stygian Onslaught will make the endgame in Genshin more versatile in the future. There's definitely a lot of potential, and with a few changes to the boss lineups, it would be much more fun, because I find AOE combat way more satisfying than single target enemies. Also, it would be enough to give us one real AOE side in Abyss. The second side can be whatever, I don't care. Even though you might need to build some other characters this way, I think this would also be beneficial for after peace. Why? Well, if the enemies are true AOE, the odds of them being super restrictive are rather small. That would mean that you could be more creative with your team building. Hyperbloom works, Taser, national teams, and all the units would get a reboot. Child is fun again, Nilo Bloom clears Abyss, Alhaitham as a driver, Shao plunge. Wouldn't that be something? The power creep and the HP inflation in single target makes it very difficult or near to impossible to successfully play these units, but in AOE they could still shine. A lot of old units are super popular and we just want to use them for our endgame. So either buff them or give us enemies that suit their kits. Anyway, this is my opinion on this topic. What is yours? Do you miss AOE combat or do you prefer single target bosses? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, if you like this video, please leave a thumbs up or even subscribe to the channel. These videos take a lot of time to make and I would really appreciate your support. Anyway, thanks again for watching and I will see you in the next video. Bye!